Hey, Cody, can you hear
How's
me?
it how's it going, man?
Great, and yourself there.
I'm going good. I'm going good, man. It's all good over here. It's all good. We're surviving, man. We're surviving.
Exactly. Where in Canada am I getting you from?
I'm in Ottawa. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
The origins of Tom Green and Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
funny. I used to run into Tom Green all the time just because he's around and if you go to like a local Yuck Yucks or something, like a comedy club, he's usually just hanging out.
Wow. Were you aware of him? This might make you sound old. Were you aware of his old hip hop group Organized Rhyme, or is that well before you?
It's probably before me, but that sounds like something I gotta check out.
Got it. And it's funny to me that you wound up in a Swedish band because Sweden, from what I understand, is even colder temperature wise than Ottawa.
Yeah, it's pretty on par. I would say that, yeah, I mean, Ottawa is an armpit, man. It's like a valley, So when it gets cold here, it's like that cold that that humid cold that like gets into your bones and shit. But then there in Sweden, it's like surrounded by water, right? So it's like, you get those winds coming off the water. So yeah, it's kind of the same. It's around the same, I would say. We experienced the same hell. So that's why we're able to get along so well.
Before COVID, were you flying over there like 4 or 5 times a year?
Yeah, I mean, typically it was like, um, whenever we were starting like the first leg of any sort of tour, I would fly over there like maybe a week or two in advance, and because that's just our home base, and that's where we rehearse, and then um, yeah, from there we go on the road, and then depending on how the rest of the year looks, sometimes it makes sense for me to like fly to Sweden first, have a jam, uh, or whatever. And sometimes it's like, all right, well, last tour went really good. We've got the songs fucking, under our skin at this point. So, all the guys in the band are top-notch musicians, so it's like,
Right.
it's not, they're rehearsing on their own time, and everybody's going to show up and just fucking nail their parts. So we're able to just kind of like, get a few weeks of rehearsal in before a tour, and then just give her for the rest of the year type thing.
Makes sense to me. And hate to call it a pandemic album, but you have a great pandemic album.
Yeah.
So
Well, no,
congratulations.
thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Was,
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
was it recorded remotely, like you did your parts from Canada, or actually some of it was recorded before the pandemic?
Yeah, we started recording. Martin recorded his drums before the pandemic, and then we had a Latin America tour. So yeah, we took off for that, and then we were only able to play, I think it was 4 shows, just the Mexican dates before the world went to shit. And yeah, we came back home, and well, everybody sort of went back to their homes. It's a stressful time. Like I think our poor light girl, she couldn't get into her. She was from Austria, so she couldn't get into Austria on the way home. Had to like stay at her mom's place in Croatia. Things were just kind of crazy. But anyways, yeah, we all made it home, and a couple weeks later, we just we're like, all right, this is what the world is now. So let's just be productive and do what we can right now. And so yeah, we just kind of went to town on recording this record, and it was kind of nice because originally we were supposed to just like fucking figure out how to record this thing in between touring.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a little stressed out about it because it wasn't going to give us much time, and so yeah, the silver lining was that it gave us months and months to just track everything and get it as perfect as we wanted it.
Well, you should be very proud, but totally different note. You had an excellent post on October 6th or 7th on your Instagram that was a tribute to Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
I've been told you're a big Van Halen fan, but I've also seen you noted as Cody Lee Ford. Is your middle name really Lee, or is that just over time you become Cody Lee Roth? Cody Lee Ford.
Yeah, Cody Lee Roth. Yeah. No, my middle name is actually Lee. So, I just decided to start using it more because, I guess you could say it's an ode to some of the greats. But at the same time, in the world of social media, there's lots of Cody Fords out there.
Yeah.
I think there's like a professional football player that is a Cody Ford. So, it's just like people searching Cody Ford and, just getting this guy playing football type thing. So I was like, I should probably start using my middle name. And the guys agreed. They're like, it sounds more rock star. And so yeah, it's a real thing, man. My dad's middle name is Lee as well. So I got it from him.
Tradition, got it. Was Van Halen always one of your top bands, or was it a later in life kind of discovery?
I was lucky enough to have parents that had like pretty fucking rad music taste, So I grew up with bands like Van Halen and Pink Floyd, and my parents were big like Def Leppard fans, and those types of bands. So yeah, and it's funny because like even today, I notice all of this stuff in like my guitar playing, but not only that, it's also in like the tones that I really like. Mm-hmm. Like for example, I love that like sort of slow phasey sound, mm-hmm. or the way Eddie used flange, the way he used his delay, almost not quite slapback, a little bit longer type thing. I love the way his guitars were sort of recorded on the albums, where it's like, guitar on one side, like the reverb
right
on the other side, that kind of thing. And this is all stuff that, as a guitar player, you're discovering new sounds and stuff all the time. And then, oh yeah, I really love this sound. And then you realize, oh, that's that's just what Van Halen has been doing the entire time. You know what I mean? So I guess you sort of like start to realize like how much, certain artists, and like, especially for me, Van Halen is just like sort of in your blood, whether you know it or not, you just sort of discover it. But yeah, it was the albums, especially like Van Halen 1 in like 1984 were sort of the big ones that my parents listened to a lot. So those are the ones I'm most familiar with. So yeah, lucky kid.
Lucky kid with the right influences. Did you eventually do your research so that you got into the David Lee Roth solo catalog as well? Or you just kept it at 1985 and that was it?
Yeah, it's funny because David Lee Roth, he's like, when it comes to the whole like DLR versus Van Hagar sort of argument, I side on the DLR side. I love Sammy, but I just found that his voice really just kind of blended in with a lot of the vocalists of that era. Like sometimes I'd listen to I'd hear like a Van Halen song with Sammy on it, and I wouldn't realize it was Van Halen until like I heard one of Eddie's like guitar licks or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like David Lee Roth, like, for me, maybe it's just me, but just a more distinctive voice.
Oh, definitely a distinctive voice.
Yeah. But yeah, to kind of answer your question, I think for me, like the big thing was, Van Halen. As a guitar player, I loved Van Halen primarily for the guitar, but I thought the marriage of Eddie's sort of like playing that had like this attitude and this swing to it, especially mixed with DLR's sort of like edgy party type vibe. You know, the energy that those two sort of had in both their personalities kind of combined, I thought was just an unbeatable combo, you know.
Totally.
And like, even, you know, I love Steve Vai and I love Jason Becker, but I listen to those songs, and they're so good. I mean, they're so good, but it just doesn't hit me the same way. And maybe it's just because of the nostalgia. It could just be that, you know, there's something to be said about music hitting you at the right time, but
the situation where you heard the song sometimes is as important as the song itself.
Yeah, definitely, man. And and so you obviously, you are just to kind of throw a question your way, you know, I mean, it's super rad that you guys have a podcast about David Lee Roth. First of all, that's super cool. So what about you? What was it that, like, what was that moment for you that got you into David Lee Roth and was just like, you know, this is the shit. this is what I want to like dedicate my days to, you know?
Right. In my case, I was familiar with the Van Halen hits first, then you go into the deep cuts, then you see the music videos for Roth's solo career, and the music videos are unbelievably underrated.
They're so great.
They're so great. And unfortunately, you know, Van Halen's peak, the music video had not yet taken over until maybe the 1984 album. They didn't do a lot of great music videos. Like the Pretty Woman music video is pretty tough to watch, to say the least. But then if you look at the videos like, you know, Yankee Rose and Going Crazy and A Little Ain't Enough, great videos. So those kind of hooked me. And then when you see over time that Dave could do any genre that he really wanted, there's a reggae song on the 94 album that hit or miss. He eventually went a little electronica, again, hit or miss. But the first two solo records, just Eat 'Em and Smile and Skyscraper, are the gateways, and that's why I'm a diehard.
Amazing. I totally get that. That's one thing that needs to be said is he was like what a versatile frontman, you know? Yeah, from going to like sort of like rock to like metal to like almost like these like Broadway type of tunes, you know what I mean? Like just so theatrical. And then like reggae, or you think of a song like, you think of a song like Damn Good, and it's like, you know, I've never owned a convertible, but I feel like when I'm listening to that song, that's what, you know, driving down Sunset Boulevard in a convertible kind of feels like, you know what I mean? It just feels like you're going on some sort of nostalgia trip, and it just feels nice. Yeah, I saw this, I read this quote recently, and I think it summed it up really well. It was like, Diamond Dave ain't a person, he's a state of mind.
Yes, that is, you know? That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought that was perfect, because like you're only in one state of mind when you're listening to David Lee Roth, man.
Yeah.
And that's a good one, you know?
Well, one thing I always try to figure out anytime I speak to somebody who doesn't live in the States, if you do like the Mount Rushmore of classic rock radio, and you had to narrow it down to like 5 bands that you hear way too much. You say, you know, Floyd, Zeppelin, Beatles, Queen, and maybe Van Halen. That's a lot of radio things. In Canada, I don't get the vibe that Van Halen was as big of a stadium kind of band.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I actually never got the chance to see Van Halen live. I could probably look back and see all the times I probably missed it. But I think the thing about Ottawa too is it's you know, some of these bands, they sort of skip over the city for some reason. Well, I mean, not for some reason. I mean, it's kind of a sleepy government city. So you a lot of the times you've either got to go to Toronto or Montreal to check out these big stadium shows. But yeah, you might be right about that. I think, yeah, the aforementioned bands that you listed there, I think, you know, those in Canada are definitely, you know, way bigger, I would say.
And then same thing I would assume with Sweden, that Van Halen seems to have hit Sweden a handful of times, but it didn't look like over there they were that big of a band. So I'm curious if your bandmates are also big Van Halen guys, or they just know the hits and they go, that's cool, but listen to Deep Purple instead.
Yeah, no, you know, it's funny because I think, I'm not sure about all of them, but I know some of them definitely, you know, Van Halen has never resonated with them. You know, they've got very eclectic tastes, but for some reason, you know, I remember Martin, you know, he kind of asked me like, you know, what is it with Van Halen, man? Like what, like, you know, explain to me what it is, you know, and it's interesting because I just kind of assumed like if you are some sort of a musician in the rock genre or heavier, that you probably, you know, enjoy Van Halen at least a little bit, right? But yeah, you know, these Swedish guys, I don't know.
Too much helicopters and no.
Yeah.
That's one of kind of my obsessions about seeing which bands and which territories meant more that Americans or Canadians have wrong. Like, for example, the Guess Who seems like to be the Zeppelin of Canada, yet here they're kind of like a 2-hit band, maybe a 3-hit band if you factor in BTO.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example. Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely one of those bands where, I mean, for me, I never really got into the Guess Who, but yeah, I know a lot of people who are around here, and it's definitely weird because it feels like, yeah, they're not as prominent elsewhere for sure.
Well, my last question for you, and I'm cutting it short because this is Super Bowl Sunday. There's laundry to do, and I will do a part 2 with you in the near future about your latest album and all that, because I think the world of your band. And awesome. That question is, let's just say Eddie Van Halen is number 1 in terms of guitar players that influence you, whether or not that's the case. Who's number 2?
David Gilmour, without a doubt. You know, I mean, for me, it's like in my guitar playing, like, or in terms of who influenced me, David Gilmour and Van Halen were sort of the yin and the yang. You know, you've got kind of like Gilmour with the slower kind of feely stuff, like can hit you with 1,000 emotions in one bend, and then Van Halen with like the I'm gonna show you how I can play with like a lot of emotion, but like really fast, you know. And I think nowadays it's like I listen to a lot of these Instagram sort of guitar players, and so many of them are so talented, you know, fucking crazy, like blaring the fretboard type shit. But it's you know, the world uses stees. They don't have the stees, you know, that Van Halen did, you know. But Gilmour, I mean, he's once again, my parents kind of grew up listening to Pink Floyd. You know, my uncle has the wall on his tombstone, you know, huge fans. So another one of those bands that kind of like runs in my blood.
Good taste. The man has great taste. Cody, looking forward to doing part 2, but thank you in the meantime for so much of your time right now and energy, and really looking forward to seeing what's next from you.
Thanks, man. Who are you cheering for tonight?
Pizza. I'm cheering for pizza.
You're cheering for pizza. I can get behind that, man. All right. Well, enjoy the Super Bowl, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Cody. Take care.
Cheers.
Paltrocast.